Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Elder Scrolls Lore. And now, today, before we begin, I'd like to make a shout out to Ares' channel. Feel free to look at it in the description below. It has wonderful music. It's where I get my music from. Feel free to go there. As well as, feel free to join the Discord chat. The link is in the description below, and there's one in the channel header. Feel free to join that. And now, before we get today, this is actually something I've really kind of wanted to cover, because it's a debate I've had with multiple people. And now, before we get started, I am, for many of you who follow the channel regularly, you know that I am an Imperial supporter. I support the Empire, and I am for them winning the Civil War in Skyrim. However, when I'm looking at this debate, I am going to be looking at it from a neutral eye. I'll be completely unbiased when it comes to my opinions, and I'm going to go straight off of an unbiased look, and whether the Empire is right or wrong, I'll be willing to admit it. Do not worry, I'm not going to be completely biased, and yeah, I feel like I'm still going to get maybe some criticism saying I'm wrong, or saying I'm just not right in this instance, and feel free to believe that way, and I would love to have a debate with you, or some sort of conversation in the comments or in the Discord chat. Feel free to spark that up. I would love to do it. I love having interactions with the community like that. It really sparks some really deep, interesting conversations. But with that, today I want to analyze whether or not Ulfric was in the right to kill Torygg. And now, I know last week we covered whether or not what would happen if Torygg didn't die, but this has to do more with the lore. We have everything we're here, and we're going to analyze it to see if Ulfric is right based on the definitions of the duel, and what other people and what other the people surrounding Ulfric and Torygg might believe about this whole situation. Obviously, they have biases on their own, and we're going to go into that as well. So, is Ulfric in the right? Well, it's hard to say. With the traditional Nordic duel, right, and Balgruuf the Greater says, quote, "I'm not the High King, but neither am I a boy. If Ulfric wants to challenge my rule in the old way, let him," end quote. So, a traditional Nordic duel refers to both as the traditional way and as the old way, and was a duel used by the Nords of Skyrim to determine a ruler over a certain hold, and sometimes a province itself. Now, there are political duels, and this is a duel that's fought between two Nordic people, most often Jarls, who sought to rule over a hold of Skyrim or Skyrim itself. Now, according to Jurn Skald King, the duel goes as follows. A challenger challenges the opposition, and the opposing party accepts. They fight until one of the two is bested, and the victor is gets to banish the loser from the lands he has won. Now, according to Ulfric Stormcloak, the duel goes as follows. A challenger appears and challenges the opposition, and they accept. They fight until one has died, and the victor takes the land from the defeated. Now, there's an honorable duel as well, and an honorable duel is most often the normal duel between two people, most often Nords, as a sign of strength or justice. Additionally, the Thirsk follow a similar pattern. Now, we have some examples of this with Geirmund and Sigrisk Golderson. Now, Sigrisk Golderson was guilty of crimes against Skyrim and her people. When he was cornered in a Nordic ruin, he challenged Geirmund, knowing that he was honor-bound to accept. In the duel, both combatants were killed. Now, there was Gizzy Roundgut as well, and Einar. Now, Einar was a chieftain of Thirsk. To prove himself worthy of leading Thirsk, Gizel slew Einar and presented his sword as a trophy. Now, next, we have the historical political duels. We do have examples of those as well. We have Kjork the White, who fought against another Jarl called Asern Icebreaker during the First Era for the title of High King, after the Crown of Verity rejected Asern. Now, Asern then threatened to kill everybody if the Jarls didn't support him, so Kjork then challenged him for position of High King. Next, we have Jurn Skald King, and he fought against his brother Fildgor Orkthane in the Second Era over the throne of Windhelm. The duel was fought until Fildgor was bested in combat, and upon defeat, Jurun banished his brother from his lands and started his rule as Jarl and later on High King. Then lastly, we have Ulfric Stormcloak, who fought the High King Torygg in the Fourth Era over the throne of Skyrim. And now, unlike the duels between Jurun and his brother, Ulfric used the Thu'um against Torygg and killed him, and by Ulfric's account, he killed him with a sword, while the words of most of the people in Solitude, as well as Torygg himself, through the voice. Now instead of besting and banishing him, many in Skyrim consider Ulfric a murderer, while others claim Ulfric simply followed Nordic tradition. The outcome of the duel worsened the state of the Skyrim civil war and caused further chaos. Now, it's hard to say which of these decisions is the right way to go about it. Now, if we use just the political examples, we see that there are 2 people being killed and there is 1 person being banished. So, I guess in the case of Kjork, we have the standard that people should be killed. That is the earliest one we have. Yeah, and we have banishment with Jarun, who basically played a big important part in this fate of Skyrim. So I guess it's very hard to say which one is in the right there. However, in my personal opinion, I believe that we should go with the idea that they should be killed. It seems like the most likely idea in this situation. I feel like Jarun only banished his brother because they were family, and it makes more sense that I would see family being banished over being killed. And I think that fits the narrative a bit more in that situation. So I think that's Ulfric is in the right, but it's a bit different of a situation when we know that Ulfric used the Thuum, and now the Thuum changes up everything, because we see in a traditional brawl that there is no magic, no weapons, etc. in a traditional brawl in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, that is, and no magic is allowed. And that is key, because I feel like that plays probably a bit more of an important part in, and more of an honorable duel. So is using the Thuum allowed? And now we know the Thuum is technically some sort of magic that existed, so Ulfric knew how to use it in this stance. And I don't know if it's necessarily right to use it, because is the Thuum honorable? Honor is a big thing among the Nords, and we don't really know if what's supposed to play out, but we do know that the Nords are supposed to be honorable in terms of in the duel. So using magic is something that's kind of frowned upon, and even we get when Torrig, he claims that he still holds his honor, and can Ulfric say the same? And in a sense, he's not wrong, because it seems very dishonorable to do it. Would I call Ulfric a murderer? By far, no. I don't think Ulfric is actually a murderer. It's very hard to say whether or not that is what it is. I guess it depends on who you talk to. But I do think that Ulfric is a dishonorable winner of the duel, I guess. It wasn't the right way to go about it. And so essentially, if we look back, the Thuum is relatively, the Way of the Voice is relatively old. We know it's existed way back in, at least since the First era, maybe the Merethic era. I don't really recall off the top of my head in that case, but it seems likely that other Nords would be able to use it. So whether or not Ulfric had to use it in his duel is confusing, because it seems like other Nords would have known how to use it, and yet they haven't. I feel like it's possible that Jarun and Kjork could have used the Thuum, but they didn't. So that's why I believe that it wasn't right for Ulfric to use the Thuum into the duel. That's what I believe. And now if we go to real life to get an example of what a duel is based off a code of honor. They're fought not necessarily to kill the opponent, but to gain satisfaction and restore one's honor, or show a point, prove a point, or humiliate your opponent, right? And we get this sense in the modern era, where people usually used it to resolve disputes as well, like say in the colonial era or the revolutionary era in America or Britain, right? So basically we get that kind of style duels, but here it seems like it's hard to say, because where do you use a Thuum and how does it fit with honor? Nords are very proud of their honor in Skyrim. We've gotten that a lot throughout. So to be honest, if you're in a traditional duel, I would say that the Thuum is not something you should use. You don't really prove a point by using the Thuum in this example. You could show your gust of strength or how strong you are in this stance, but you're not really proving anything else in this instance. You're not proving you're better with the sword. You're not proving you're better at leading or how strong you are. You're proving that you could use a shout to kill somebody, right? So essentially, I think that Ulfric is all the way in the right until this point. If Ulfric had fought the duel, sword on sword or spear, whatever weapon he chose, axe, hammer anything, and he chose to fight that like that, and then one of them dies that way, I consider that okay. But since Ulfric used the Thu'um to kill Torrig, it must be a sign that Ulfric either A, was losing this duel, B, didn't trust that he could win this duel, or C, he didn't have faith that people that would accept that he would kill, if he killed Torrig, that they would accept his victory, right? So he did a show of force by using the Thu'um and quickly killing it, and then ran. If he was truly the winner of this duel, then he wouldn't have used the Thu'um. And that's why I think that Ulfric is in the wrong in this instance. Every point leading up, I think Ulfric is in the right. Even in the duel, I think that he's in the right. But when he uses the Thu'um, that's when he changes it. And that's where I think that caused all this, the stir. People in the eastern half of Skyrim will say that Ulfric is in the right. He won the duel the old way, and it's the right way. However, those in western Skyrim are able to see that were there to witness the whole situation, can see that that wasn't the right way to do it. And that wasn't honorable, right? And I think honor has a lot to do with a duel. And now a lot of people his wife, Elisabeth the Fair, Torrig's wife, and a lot of the court of Solitude agree that Ulfric was indeed in the wrong by murdering him. Right, that's not I don't even know if I would go to an extent to say murder. He dishonorably won the duel, and so I would go as far as to say that Ulfric is not a murderer, but he didn't win the duel fairly, or honorably, I should say. I feel like honor has a lot to do with this situation. He didn't prove anything by winning that, so I think that is what ruins the whole instance, and that's what soiled his whole situation. So in this instance, I don't think he's right. At the end, and only the end. Now, I get there are others that might disagree, or those who will agree that yes, Ulfric was in the wrong. And yet, in these debates I've had with Imperial Knowledge and HP Productions and Kukai and American Scribe, who is a part of the podcast we do. He's one of the secondary hosts we have. It seems that I feel like I'm in the minority when it comes to agreeing that Ulfric didn't win the duel fairly, and it should have been something that was sword on sword combat or weapon on weapon, whatever. And yes, there isn't a clear definition of what a duel necessarily is. However, there is a lot to do with honor, and I feel like there wasn't enough of an honorable kill to say that Ulfric won fairly. And considering Torrig says, I have my honor, can Ulfric say the same? And in the Elder Scrolls V, I would go to say that I think Ulfric didn't win the duel right. And I know that, again, there might be those who might be like, oh, you're just an Imperial supporter, clearly you support the Empire, of course you're going to say this, you know, the Stormcloaks are wrong. And I would agree that this whole situation started a civil war, right? And the civil war was already going essentially on in a minor stance, but if it was done properly, I don't think there would have been such escalation, and we wouldn't see both sides trying to kill each other at every little moment's note. But with that being said, what do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree that Ulfric was in the right? I realize that there is a large number of people who support the Stormcloaks and the Empire, so I am definitely an Empire supporter. I definitely agree with that. But you know, at the end, I would definitely say it's hard to say. I don't think, in conclusion, I guess wrapping everything up, right? If I had to wrap everything up before we end this, Ulfric is in the right every moment until he uses the Thu'um. And I wouldn't say he's a murderer either. I don't know if I would go as far to claim he was a murderer. That is a little harsh, in my opinion, to put that title on him. I think he dishonorably won the duel, and I can agree why there'd be some confusion on who thinks who won the war, or who won that in that situation, and why there's a civil war as a result of it. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, please like and subscribe for more. And something I think about, something I'm thinking I'm going to be doing in the future, in the upcoming future, is I think I'm going to be live streaming E3. I'm going to see if I can get off work so I can live stream E3 and talk about it and talk about my reactions to E3, and I'll see if that works. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.